a different show. It's donkey. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. We're here for more misery. Oh, this chat's ugly this morning. This is exactly how it should be, you guys. It's exactly how it should be. You should be mad. You should be frustrated. You should be trying to figure out answers. You should be trying to figure out lessons on what Notre Dame has to do to get a different result next time you're in this situation, this environment. This is what it should be after this. I still feel like I've been ran over by a Mack truck. It's going to take a long time to decompress from this situation. This is what it's like, you guys. This is what it should be like. I have no problem with the debate in the chat. I have no problem with the frustration. This is how it goes. This is how it goes. And, you know, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. You lost in the title game, man. It's going to be rough. It's going to hurt. There's a lot of tough questions being asked. It's all fair game. And it's probably what should happen in a fan base when you lose the championship game. Here's what's tough for me. And I'm going to get to the chats. I got a bunch of calls already, and I definitely want to see what you guys all think and where your mind's at. Are you moving forward to next year already looking at Al Golden and, you know, anybody transferring out and what we need to do and all that? Are you still stuck in the game? Are you half and half? Has your perspective on what happened in the game changed now that the immediacy of the emotions have gone down a little bit? I want to know where you guys are at. Personally, my body, mind, and soul and heart all feel like they've been ran over by a Mack truck. And I've always been open with you guys. I'm an open book, man. Whatever my emotion is, there's no hiding it. You get it from me every day, good or bad. And I feel ran over by a Mack truck. And so I'm interested to know where you guys are at. I really don't have a problem with Notre Dame fans trying to debate what we need to do better. You know, it's all fair game. This is what happens when you lose the championship. And you know what's getting me? What really hurts about this is the proximity to the title. I think now that I'm thinking about it, that is what is making this particularly painful, is the fact that you are within reach of that trophy, right? Like, it's different if you lose in the second round of the playoffs or whatever, or, you know what, don't make the playoff, and then you could debate what your team needs to do to be better. The proximity to the title, only to not get it, is that extra dagger for Notre Dame fan. That's what gets you. It was sitting right there on the sidelines for you, and you didn't get it, right? You didn't get it. Mello, I really don't have. I have all the patience in the world for well-meaning Notre Dame fans to debate where things went wrong. I really don't have the patience to deal with a bunch of Ohio State people giving me a hard time today. I really just don't. Y'all talk trash and get mad now. No, get mad at yourselves and your team, not me's. Look at, you can't even type it like a normal person. You're making the meme for me. Y'all talk trash and get mad now. No, get mad at yourselves. It's going to be a long morning. I was going to say, now he's saying I'm not talking to you, John Kennedy, because the next thing I was going to say out of my mouth was, what is there to debate? The problem I'm starting to have with Ohio State people, some of them is they're making up like narratives that don't even really like exist. I don't understand. I don't. Burger King says, Mello, meet me at your local BK. Not Brian Kelly, Burger King. If you were going to meet at the local BK, you'd have to go to the country club. Oh, my God. Oh, this is so hilarious. But here's what I don't get. John, we could debate anytime you want. What is there to debate? I have no idea what you're talking about. Y'all were talking trash. Every single thing I said was Ohio State should be favored. My line was they should win the game, but Notre Dame refuses to lose a game, so something's got to give. Like, I gave all the credit in the world to Ohio State. I don't understand what there is to debate. I went into the game saying you guys should probably win, but Notre Dame refuses to lose, and can they do it one more time? Like, I wasn't on there saying Notre Dame's going to win 42-7. Like, what is there to debate? Ohio State had the better team with more stars that was healthier and looked like the more mature program in that moment, and they won it. That's probably what should have happened. That being said, I'm completely miserable and devastated. Just because that's what should happen doesn't mean I'm okay with it. Yeah, so, man, I don't know. Now he's saying I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about some of the chat. Like, whatever, man. That's fine. It's just, I couldn't have been more clear about my respect for their roster. I kept saying that. They should probably win, but Notre Dame refuses to lose. Something's got to give. That was my narrative. A lot of things gave, and it was a frustrating night for Notre Dame. Pendleton hit the portal. I'm going to cry over it. Like, I'm not in the mood. I'm still dealing with the come down from this big game moment. And when my mind clears up, and it hasn't totally cleared up yet, I'll be in a better place to get into what do you do at defensive coordinator, all this. I'm going to tell you this right now. With what Notre Dame did defensively in this game, for Al Golden to be like out of here and go do something else, that's a rough dynamic, because that defense looked like a total nightmare mess and played in a way they haven't played all year. Even in the Northern Illinois game, you played better defense than this by the points you gave up. Like, that's a little frustrating, because anybody that's going to be like, dude, was Al focused on something else or whatever? Like, it's tough to say that question isn't fair when Notre Dame played that bad defensively. I'm telling you, I was having Gary Gray Wooden flashbacks. Guys were catching passes for Ohio State with no Notre Dame player on my TV screen. There was no multiple passes were completed, and I didn't see a Notre Dame player even on the TV screen. So it's a rough time for Al to jump ship. It's a rough time for Al to jump ship when that's your last. You're going to catch some. What were we really focused on? Because that was really brutal, and it was bad. When is the film breakdown? I'm glad you asked. A couple updates. We'll go to the calls. A couple of updates. Number one is tomorrow night, me and Mike are going to do we're going to do Ohio podcast. I checked your schedule this morning. Miami and A&M back-to-back to open the season. Notre Dame doesn't play anybody. Yeah, I keep hearing it. Notre Dame doesn't play anybody. Okay, fine, whatever, man. What a nightmare. You want to know what the real nightmare is, you guys? Here's the real nightmare. There are a lot of Notre Dame fans stuck in Atlanta. Adam Dowling and Tiffany Dowling have been trying to get out of there since after the game, and they've been living out of like the Atlanta airport. Every flight's canceled, then they reschedule it, pay more, and it gets canceled again, and then this and that. Bro, it's rough. Andrew Gilmore says, I don't see it that way, John. Al can't rush the passer for them. He can't cover Smith. I understand what you're saying, Andrew, but that narrative's out there. You don't have to think it's a fair one. But when you appear that bad defensively, when you've been good defensively all year, and then you hear that this stuff's going on, it's going to come out. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to think that that's right. But that is a narrative I've seen all over. And that's the way it goes. Everybody's pissed off. Everybody's frustrated. And so when you have this dynamic, people want to pile on at something. And so that's what's happening. You don't have to think it's fair. Yeah, Notre Dame doesn't play anybody at Miami and Texas A&M weeks 1 and 2. Like, good luck. and we'll get to next year, too, and what needs to happen or not happen. Update on the schedule. Because Mike was at the game, and the game was Monday. Then Mike had to go to Green Bay for work. We're going to do the Monday Night Raw live on Patreon tomorrow night. So we're going to do 7 o'clock tomorrow night, probably. I'll post it officially. That'll be the Monday Night Raw show that me and Mike will do. And so that'll be at 7 tomorrow. And then we'll figure out when him and Jared Clark can sit down and do the film. It'll probably be when Mike gets back from his Green Bay work trip back to Nebraska. So the schedule's messed up because the game was a Monday and Mike was there and there's work travel involved. And so that's going to be the schedule. I'll keep you updated on the all 22. I mean, there really is no rush. We don't have another game. So whenever those guys can sit down and do it, we're going to do it. So welcome in, welcome back. Thanks for being here, you guys. I appreciate you guys not checking out and being frustrated and leaving. Angela, it's always good to have a Rudiger here, even in frustrating times. In frustrating times. And so thanks for being here. As always, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it, subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Appreciate it. Notifications on. Twitter, search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want it. You can get it if you don't want to see Johnny's face. Nobody blames you for that. Call in lines 312-900-8815. Dial it up. Tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Notre Dame Fighting Irish brought to you by SI. Patreon.com/Always Irish. He the former captain. He the leading tackler. Mike and I have intentionally not spoken anything about the game. We've talked about other stuff. We've intentionally not talked about the game because we want to save all that raw on the Patreon live. I don't want to know what he thinks. He doesn't want to know what I think. And we're just going to roll it out there live. That is our best version of that show, is when we don't talk about anything and it just happens. So we're not having a plan. We're not doing that. We're going to see where we're at. So that's going to be very interesting. Stay tuned. Thanks for everybody that's over there. Really appreciate it. Decent amount of calls today. So let me get through a couple things I want to get through, couple chats, and then we'll give it to the callers. And I want to know what you guys think. So this one's gonna take some time to decompress from. I feel like I've been ran over by a truck. I said it before. I'm just being honest. And it's just rough. It's just man, it's rough. I want to take your game reactions. I'm wondering if some of the immediate emotional burn has run off, if anybody's thinking of things a little differently than they were the minute after the game, whatever. I'm wondering about that. You know, I see multiple people in the chat talking about Price and Love. What did they have? 7 carries between the two for 16 yards. I mean, 4 and 3 carries for 16 yards. And I've seen a lot of people complain about it, and I did too. 53 yards rushing. That is Brian Kelly, big game Notre Dame rushing numbers. And then the argument is, well, we got behind by so much, then you had to throw it, and that's why those guys didn't have as many carries. I believe that's still too few. You weren't down by that much. You could, within a score or two, you could have tried to run the ball more. Later on, I admit you had to play catch up, and Notre Dame's probably screwed and was screwed when you got to do that. I think you could have ran the ball with them a little bit more before you got into like, we have to throw it panic mode. Because that's kind of your bread and butter, and you didn't really use it that much, man. For whatever. It's so frustrating. So I want to know where you guys are at. Just let me know where you're at. Are you looking at Notre Dame's team and staff for next year? Are you still stuck in the game? Are you worried about what's going to happen? I'm willing to be wherever you guys are at. I do know this. Couple notes, chat, and then calls. I do know this. For those that hate us, and there's a lot of them, winning 3 playoff games is clearly not enough to get Notre Dame the credit that you want. It's not enough to get the credit that you want. You got to go win a title, and that's the only way to shut the people up that hate Notre Dame. And so I don't know if you expected that or not. It shouldn't really surprise you. But once Notre Dame lost, all of that media that played nice with Notre Dame because they had to, because they're in that game, are quick to dump on them. Here's what I find really interesting. Fans and media of teams that sucked and didn't even come close to making the playoff were really quick to rip Notre Dame's performance in the national championship game, which I find incredibly rich and ironic. You're sitting at home because your team sucked, and you're mocking a team that made it to the championship game and fell short. Bold lack of self-awareness. You should worry about your own team. You should worry about your own team, especially those that didn't make the playoff, and you're sitting on your couch making fun of Notre Dame for making that run and falling short in the final game of the year. Man, I mean, you need to kind of worry about your own team before you pile on Notre Dame for making it that far. And some of that's directed down south in Louisiana, too. Some of that's directed down south to Louisiana, too. You lose 4 games, you're sitting on your couch with your popcorn making fun of Notre Dame. You need to get some proper perspective. You are seeing, especially in Louisiana, in-house bought and paid for media, the way Scam Webb is for Michigan, acting like an independent, news reporter, but is bought and paid for by the program. That's what's going on with a lot of the LSU people, the ones who have access. They are lining up to protect Brian Kelly. The biggest favor in their lifetimes was that Notre Dame didn't win this, because then they know there's no argument. So they're all relieved Notre Dame lost, and they're covering for Brian Kelly. It's bought and paid for state-run media. And so, they're all saying this proves that Brian Kelly wasn't the problem. Notre Dame just can't get the talent, whatever. And so that is very, very rich, the cover job going on, and how much they were sweating out the idea Notre Dame could win this. And so, but it is really interesting. I mean, you're sitting at home, 4 losses, and you're ripping Notre Dame in the title game. That is a bold lack of self-awareness and frustration at their part, because they know their team's going the other way. And so whatever, man. It is, it's really funny. I don't know, whatever. And so God bless Adam Dowling, still stuck in Atlanta. I don't think all this travels for me. I have no interest in going to these bowl games. I have no interest in traveling and being with these mixed crowds. It doesn't appeal to me at all. I literally have no interest in going to any of these games. Still in Atlanta. Travel's been a nightmare. Yeah, I've been talking to Adam. He's been stuck there forever. I have no interest. If Notre Dame wins the title, I'll be plenty happy in my basement. I do not need to be there. I have no interest in these mixed crowds, being with the other fan base when I'm out just trying to eat and being in the same building. It's not for me. I would hate it. It's not for me. I don't go to away games. I don't do it. I have no interest in it. I don't need it. A bunch of people were surprised I didn't go to the title game. Not interested. Not interested. I don't want to be in a mixed crowd. That's not, home games aren't as bad. We outnumber them. That's about it, man. So what have you learned from this experience about Notre Dame as a program? What are your big takeaways? That's where this needs to turn into next, is what are your big takeaways? What does Notre Dame have to do to get a different result if you're in this moment again? Those are the bigger picture things. I'm starting to think about. I want to say this too. I want to thank everybody for the post-game show. I really want to thank everybody for the post-game show. I thought maybe it'd be a low crowd because everybody was depressed and it would be all Ohio State people clowning us and dunking on us and no Notre Dame people. I thought maybe people were just so frustrated, maybe they would check out. And that was a worry of mine. But we did really, really good numbers. And you guys donated a ton of money and just said, it didn't end the way that we wanted, but thank you for doing what you do, John. I got to tell you guys, it means the world to me that even in that negativity, you guys took the time to call, took the time to chat. And those of you that donated like big amounts to say, here you go for all the work over the year, I want you to know how much that means to me. I was surprised by that. I thought people would be so, John Kennedy, why are you so unashamed about skipping games? Skipping games? I've never not seen a Notre Dame game. What do I have to go to every game that they have to impress you or to be a real fan? I actually look at it as the opposite. I actually look at it as I am proud about it. I am proud about it. I have no interest in being with the opposing fan base. I am so intense and worked up in that moment, it would not be good for me. I have no idea what your angle is. I'm damn proud of it. I don't, what do you, I'll flip it on you. If you're going to start pushing back on me about not being a real fan by not wanting to go to these games, I'll push back on the people who do go, that want to play nice with the opposition and be in the same building with people that hate us and people that don't have any class or whatever. What are you giving me a hard time for? Everybody's got to do what they got to do. And for me, I got enough to worry about without being in a building full of half people that hate us. I don't need that in my life. I already struggle to keep my sanity with all this stuff the way it already is. What do I need to be there to impress you? Who do you think you are? I don't need to be anywhere to impress you. Yeah, you're damn sure I'm proud of it. I don't want to be in a mixed crowd with the enemy. It wouldn't be a good environment for me. That's called self-awareness. That's called self-awareness. I would not enjoy it. I would be miserable. I would be frustrated. And I would hate everybody. I have no interest in putting myself in that position. I'm damn proud of it. I got a problem with Notre Dame fans that go to these games and they're talking to the enemy and they're bullshit with people and this and that. Like, I'll look down on that. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Yeah, you want me to, the day before the national championship, what do you want me to do? Go out and break bread with the enemy and be friends with everybody? No, absolutely not. John, you wouldn't go to the big house? You would have to pay me 20 grand to get me to sit in the big house. Nothing under that amount. For that amount, I'll deal with it. You would have to pay me 20 grand. I'm not doing it. I have no interest. Road games, not interested. Bowl games, not interested. Wasn't able to get a media credential. Only our boss did. We're the lowest tenured media group that it's our first year. With Sports Illustrated, with my group, it is the first year we've done it. And that sounds like wine and cheese to me. Dude, everything you're saying is the opposite of what is the reality. The wine and cheese is, I'm going to go be a part of all this, be in a mixed crowd with everybody that hates us and doesn't respect us and thinks we're a joke, and I'm just going to play nice with everybody. That's wine and cheese. Me being wound to the point where I don't even want to be in the building with the enemy is the opposite of wine and cheese. Everything you're saying is 100% backwards. You're not at my level. You're not at my level. You're coming off real casual. You ain't at my level. You don't get dialed up the way I do. It isn't healthy for me to be in a mixed crowd. It isn't going to be good for me, and it isn't going to be good for anybody else. You're the wine and cheese. You're the casual one who wants to go hang out with the enemy. It's you, not me. It's you. You're the wine and cheese because you want to go play nice with everybody that hates us. I'm the other way. I don't want anything to do with these people. So everything you're saying, you got it ass backwards. Go have a picnic with the enemy. Why don't you go down there and have a pregame tailgate with the Miami people for the first game next year? Go ahead and do it and be a tough guy. You got it all backwards. My intensity for this moment makes it unhealthy and unsafe for me and anybody else in a mixed crowd like that for something this important. It isn't good for anybody. It isn't good for anybody, but you got me totally backwards, man. You don't understand. You got it all backwards. Yeah, Miami people. I guess I gave them too much credit by calling them people. Swamp apes, maybe. People, that's pushing it. So you got me totally backwards, bro. I'm so intense, it isn't healthy for me to be in that environment. You got this all flipped. Go have a picnic with the enemy before the Miami game. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead and do that. I knew this was going to be tough, and it should be tough. And so, a couple more bullet points. I need to get to the calls here. So I want to thank everybody for the post-game show. Here's one of my big reactions to this. Regression is not an option. Now that I am calming down a little bit, regression is not an option. Yeah, dude, I'm not in the business of telling anyone else how to fan. I am not in the business of telling anybody else how to fan. And so the concept that somebody would, all that I do with Notre Dame and how worked up I am, and I'm here every single day stressing out over all this stuff. What's a swamp ape? The Florida version of Bigfoot that lives in the swamps, allegedly. That's what a swamp ape is the Florida version of Bigfoot that lives in the water and in the swamps. The idea that somebody's going to like question my fan credential because I don't want to go to the game and sit with the enemy is really rich. It's really rich. But I don't tell anybody else to fan. It's just an odd thing to come at me for. You're going to come at me with that and tell me I need to go to the game or I'm not a real fan. Maybe you need to check yourself. Go get it. Go get a scarlet and red, whatever, scarlet and gray sweater and wear that around. Sounds like you're okay being friends with the other side. Go ahead, get an Ohio State sweater. Have a tailgate with the Miami people before the game next year. Then go ahead and do it. Don't tell me how to fan. So that's my big takeaway. Regression is not an option. And so whatever that means to you, yeah, Ronald McDonald, John, I was correct. If you're just going to pick against Notre Dame every single game, eventually you're probably going to be right. Like, that's the other thing, Ronald. You're saying, John, I was correct because you pick against Notre Dame if you're going to pick against Notre Dame in every single game, eventually you're probably going to lose a game and then you get to say you're right. What about the 13 you were wrong about? Oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. So big takeaway for me, regression is not an option. So whatever that means for the coaching staff, whatever that means for the talent evaluation and the recruiting, whatever, regression is not an option. So this cannot be we go back to 9-3 and miss the playoff next year. No. So we need to get into the details as the immediacy and the heat of this moment calms down. We need to get into the details of what that means when I say regression is not an option. But you got to get back in this playoff and whatever. You cannot drop back. So some of that's coaching, some of that's talent, like whatever. And so that's where we need to talk about. What are you going to do at quarterback next year? Now you got a defense coordinator thing. Is anybody, who else is going to leave the team? I realize the schedule is tougher next year. I don't care. You need to make the playoff again. I don't care. I know the schedule is tougher and I don't care. You need to keep knocking at this door. That's my big picture takeaway. Any momentum you think was gained from this, and there's varying degrees people are going to agree on, whatever momentum was gained from this, You need to keep it. You need to keep it. Deb Thomas, John, after the podcast, listen to Pink Floyd. Seriously, I'll listen to some David Gilmour. Steely Dan greatest hits, the double album. I've been getting into that. That's pretty relaxing too. I could do some old school Steely Dan. Those are some funky dudes, man. I like Steely Dan. I really do. Okay, a couple chats. Forgive me, callers. It's just I knew this was going to be rough. I didn't know how rough. It's getting weird. Whatever. I'm trying. And that's the other thing. God, here we go again. I'm just going to say this. Here we go. Everybody was in a bad mood after the game. And there were a couple of frustrations about the call-in show, and some people couldn't get on the line and they weren't able to get through. I have 25 hold lines. If there's more than that calling, you're not able to get on because all my 25 lines are full. It wasn't that I was shying away from taking calls because Notre Dame lost. It was because all the lines were full. Other people were mad they didn't get on or they didn't get as much time or whatever. Here's what I'm just going to ask for this. Give me a little bit of grace, please. I'm dealing with the emotions of the game, and then I'm doing 3 sports radio jobs that 3 different people have at a sports radio station, and I'm doing it alone. Give me a break. Back off. I'm doing the best I can. I'm the content guy, the social media guy, looking at the dumb comments, and the call screener. It's 3 different jobs at ESPN 1000 Chicago. That's 3 different jobs for 3 different guys. I'm trying to do it all from my basement, so back off. Son of a buck. Give a guy a break. Thank you for those that have the patience to understand some of that. You're the social media guy, the content guy, and the call screener. Give me a break. Okay. Yellow. That's some funky stuff too, man. $5 holler from James. We'll get to you on the 443. The rotate, $5 holler. Come on, guys. We got out-talented by a better team. More importantly, news on transfers, people declaring or staying. Yeah, we got to get into all that. $10 holler, Ryan Elliott. Thank you. $2 holler. When is the film breakdown? News on that. We went over that. The live show is going to be tomorrow, and then we'll schedule that with Coach Clark and your captain. Knuckle up, $5 holler. John, I asked why a one-leg Spindler was playing over a 2-leg Pendleton versus Georgia. We got our answer. I don't feel as bad about the portal news. Yeah, I mean, what? I'm not trying to be offensive, but I'm not losing sleep over Sam Pendleton leaving. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. Willie B's wife, $5 holler. Through all the frustration of the last few days, some good news. The Willie B family and AI family is growing by 1, welcoming a baby boy June of 25. Man, Willie B hard again. I feel like we got our answer. If ever there was a more perfect screen name to announce that they're having a baby, it would be Willie B. Hardigan. I think we got our answer, and congratulations on that. George says, I don't get it. His screen name is Willie B. Period. It's the middle initial Hardigan. And if you don't get that, I can't help you. If you don't get that, I can't help you. I don't know what's more entertaining to me, that it happened or that people don't get the reference. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Hey, thank you. All right. We're going to do the chats, and then I'm going to go to the calls, man. This is off the rails. Oh, God, I love this show. Even when this show pisses me off, I love this show. Evolution. Let's get this started. I have some things to get off my chest. And Mikey pulls ND strengths for their biggest weaknesses Monday night. Run game, 53 yards. Secondary looked like they've never seen an offense before. Hands waving in panic before every play and missed assignments. Total absolute disaster. One of the biggest frustrations of this game was that the things that you won with all year, you were terrible in this game. And it's really frustrating. I could see a scenario where the offense struggled. I really thought the defense would put up a fight. And you could say, oh, in the second half, we really tightened up or whatever. Yeah, when Ohio State wasn't pushing anymore because they had built such a lead, like you had already screwed yourself enough at that point. So that's a tough argument. You were unable to get them off the field on one stop the entire first half. You don't deserve to win a championship. Are you outside your mind? Are you outside your damn fool mind? You don't deserve to win a title. You can't get a team off field one time. 6 of 6 on third downs. What was the guy passing? 14 of 15 in the first half? Whatever it was 15 years ago, Notre Dame secondary, where the opposition catches a ball and no Notre Dame players even on the screen. Unbelievable. Mikey, to the stars don't matter crowd. 14 5 stars to R1. Looks like it made a difference. You're darn tootin' rootin'. You're darn right. You're darn right. That's a problem. What you did, the try hard through the injury, 3 stars that play better than that, you learned there's a cap on how high you could go with that. You got to recruit better. John, we identify these lower level guys. We identify them and then we develop a blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You could do 2 things at once. Get more elite guys in early. And then the bottom third of your recruiting class is the Leonard Moore, this Morrison 3-star that you developed to play better than that. It can't all be that. Quit making excuses. Recruit more elite guys. And then the bottom third of that is to try hard, play better than their star ranking. It all can't be that. Grow up. You need more elite guys to win the championship. If that's not one of the lessons you learned here, I don't know what you're looking at. You just don't want to see it. Tom Love dude, I'm hearing, we were down, so they couldn't run what they run anymore. That's what they're saying. Ohio State's building a statue of Freeman in Columbus. It would be funny if they built one of him before Ryan Day. And if they build Ryan Day a statue, does the beard look weird to make it match? Ryan Day's championship beard. That is the best it's ever looked, is in this AI drawing, by the way. Nothing but respect and praise for the Irish in the season. Freeman's doing great things. The future's bright. Mikey, with the negatives out of the way for now, I'm obviously proud of the team. They exceeded my expectations by a significant amount. It's up to Freeman to adapt and grow. Regression is not an option. You've set a bar now. You've set a standard now. Regression is not an option. I'm not open to it. It cannot happen, and I'm going to be pissed off. You got to be a player deep in these playoffs now every year. You got to have more bites at the apple, more rolls of the dice, whatever you want to call it. Drunk. Winning the national title in college football is the majority stockpiling, the most NFL-type talent possible, good coaching second. You need more star power at the top end. I'm sorry. That's one of the lessons I learned. You don't have to like it, whatever, but you learned there's a cap on the try hard, next man up, blah, 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 blah. Lower recruiting. There's just a level you're not going to get to. And for us, the level was frustratingly, you could get to the last game, but Notre Dame would have had to play almost perfect to win this game against that talent. Things would have had to go their way, and you would have had to play almost perfect, and you were nowhere near to it. You were nowhere near it. The talent gap on the big stage was obvious and painful. Again, that being said, it was a great season. And you know what? Here's the combating thought to that is Georgia had way more star power than Notre Dame. Look at the recruiting. They were a top 1, 2, or 3 recruiting outfit. And they had way more raw talent than Notre Dame. And I was told before the game that the offense was going to be better with the backup quarterback. It's funny to me. Before that game, I was told, this adds a running dimension. They're actually going to be more dangerous on offense with this guy. And then the second Notre Dame loses, the excuse is that it was a backup quarterback. I think that's very funny how that shifted. Very, very funny how that shifted. I don't understand. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Andrew Gilmore. Sorry about the pup, John. Yeah, it's tough on the kids, man. So we get done with the game, and then I have to look forward to putting the older dog down yesterday. So that was you wonder why I'm in a bad mood and I feel like I'm ran over by a truck. Notre Dame loses the championship, and then I get to wake up and have a few more hours to look at my dog dying on the floor, and then we had to go put her down. And it is hard to explain to a 4-year-old little girl how one of the dogs is leaving to go to the doctor and they ain't coming back. Not the most comfortable discussion to have, although I'd rather have that one to explain to her that we lost to Ryan Day's beard. I'd rather tell her the dog died. Also, I had this problem too, J-Car. Can we get an update on the sump pump thing? I got the drainage line that runs under the ground or whatever, running the water away from the house. Totally frozen. It's minus 20 degrees, so the pump can't get the water out because there's freezing water in the pipe. I went out there yesterday and took some pliers and disconnected one of the pipes to get some pressure. It's spraying the water in my face, all over my jacket, and then it freezes instantly. Like, this has been my life since the game. Yikes. But yeah, it isn't easy telling a 4-year-old that the dog is no longer. All right, couple more super chats, and then we'll get to the calls. Rose Quartz, $20. Great game again, John. First drive had me, but Riley Leonard looked like he sprinted a marathon after that. I had Ohio State with the 24-17 win. I thought it'd be close to the fourth. You think who's SH Sam Hartman? No. Too limited. $2 from Rose Quartz. Was not expecting Love and Price not to make an impact. Very, very frustrating. Charlie Weiss's last belt loop, $5 holler. That is one of the funniest screen names I've ever seen. The issue is Washington settles with D-line recruiting. Look at the 25 class. You get Burgess, then 3 dudes who were just guys, not dudes. Fair. $5 holler. Ohio State's went through this a couple times with Day before they broke through this year. I'd bet money Notre Dame wins a natty with Freeman. I wrote about that the other day. Thank you for the patience on the phone lines. A lot of things have come up. I wrote about that, how Notre Dame wants to get the program. They don't want to act like Ohio State, but they want the program to get where Ohio State did. And it took Ryan Day 6 years to figure it out and get over the ultimate hump. And that's a hill Marcus Freeman is trying to climb as a younger-ish coach at a big brand name program, trying to get over the hump. And Ryan Day's year 6 and he did it. And Freeman's in 3. And what lessons can you learn from that? $2 holler. Was expecting the ND defense to be better against the run and the pass and everything, and actually being on the screen when the other team has the ball. I didn't think that was asking too much. I got used to Notre Dame's defense being pretty good. You got to be in the screen when the other guys have the ball. $5 holler from Callahan Auto Parts. No one sees the fact that Ohio State had a healthy roster and 11 guys that are going to the NFL. Be real. Yeah, you had a talent deficit problem in that game, no doubt about it. $5 holler from James. I wonder if Joe Burrow wanted out. Golden back in Cincinnati. Golden also probably got a good contract and won't get fired if Zach Taylor gets fired. Whatever, man. Whatever. So is it going to be Mickens? Are you going to do something else? What are you going to do? Who's the person that was giving me a hard time? Was it 574, Kevin? Let's do that real quick so we can hash this out and then go to Dr. John, do our regulars. What's up, man?
Hey, John. How are you?
I've been better.
Yeah. I want to start by giving some respect. I mean, I very much respect what you do here. I very much like being welcome here. I'm not just wiping my feet on that welcome mat, and I'm not trying to be what somebody might call something else. I'm not trying to be an agitator. I am just, I guess, that's picking a bone. I mean, like, we need to show up for these games. That's it. It's not like you just kind of swept it under the rug. You're like, almost bragging about not going. I have no interest. You must have said 10 times.
I have no interest.
I mean,
but what do you care? There's a
Why
million.
wouldn't you?
There's a million Notre Dame fans. What do you care if I'm there for? Let me do what I need to do to
we
maintain
don't
my
show
sanity.
up like we should.
And that's my fault? My 150-pound ass makes all the difference?
You're influential. Yeah.
And do I do more influence fighting Ohio State people in the crowd or taking a million calls and doing a counseling session after we lose a tough game? Which do you think I have more impact for? Me being in that building, all 150 pounds, yelling and all upset, or spending 3 hours with the miserable fan base after the biggest game we've had in 30 years, kind of talking our way through that pain, man? Where do you think I provide the bigger impact? I would make a real argument. It's on those phone lines doing a group counseling session. Somebody, you know what I mean? Like, why do I got to be there? Listen, man, it's not for me. I've never gone to an away game. I don't want to go to an away game. I have no interest. I get so worked up. It's not a healthy thing for my mental state to be in a mixed crowd like that and out about town seeing their colors. Dude, that is not healthy for me. And I need to draw some lines for my sanity. And I know I will not be well and in a good place in that situation. So I avoid it. And I'm already worked up enough. I don't need that.
I hear you, man. I'm like in the same boat. Feel the same way.
Well, then why are you giving me a hard time about it?
Because you're so flippant about it. Because you say it 10 times. I have no interest.
I have no interest.
The guy because what started it was, Saturday night, where he said that they were raining urine bottles down on us.
Yep.
And your response isn't like up theirs, let's give them hell. It's I'm not going near that.
Yeah. Why would I put myself in that situation? That is miserable.
For Our Lady. For the honor of Our Lady.
That's Jesus, dude.
What do you mean, Jesus?
What I do here,
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. That's all part of it. Don't separate that. This is my culture. I talk about who's deeper in this.
Gosh, what the work I do here far exceeds any cheering I would do with my little skinny skeleton frame at the game. The work that I do here far exceeds any support for the Notre Dame program than I could individually provide being in the building in that situation. And I'm not trying to big time anybody, but I am not just any random Notre Dame fan. When I have this whole culture and environment here in a post-game show and people want to vent, I would argue I serve a much bigger purpose here than I do being in the building in Atlanta.
I already conceded that point. You're right, and I applaud it. I'm just saying you're a little too eager to say that you won't go to the game. I mean, if you just left it alone, there'd be nothing to say.
Well, I'm sorry. It's my show, and that's how I feel, man. It's my show, and that's how I feel.
I'm here. Hey, until you kick me out, I'm saying it's wine and cheese. I'm saying it's not what it's about.
It's the opposite of wine and cheese.
Irish. This is fighting Irish.
It's the opposite of wine and cheese.
I went to the IU game. Let me just give an example for a minute. The IU game, yeah,
I went to that.
Just like everybody else.
I went to that game.
Okay, I know you did.
It's a home game. That's different.
Awesome.
That's different. It's a home game.
Yeah, but we don't do it when it's safe. What did JFK say? We don't do these things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. I mean, yeah, to get all biblical on it. Yeah, it's like that. I mean, I didn't want to go to this game. My birthday was the 14th. My wife out of nowhere. We can't afford to go. She got tickets for cheap. We went. It was amazing. I was so riled up going, sitting here, pre-gaming and listening to Signetti, like we all had to hear it. They go right for our low blows. They go for it every time. Got to walk past the guy with my kids, with a Ohio State tattoo, taking the leak on the leprechaun. I'm not just going to let him walk by. It's a very conscious decision to say, hey, wait a minute. I got something to say to this guy. My kids got to look at that. I go to these games all the time. I don't get to go out there. And I'm not, I'm not saying, I know it takes a lot to get to a game. I just wouldn't be bragging about, how you got no interest in it. I mean, okay, let me get to the story of going to the game and hearing shit from everybody. Me and my wife were the only ones who were like shouting, "Go Irish," and getting the call back. It's like we forgot how to do it. Yesterday I'm sitting and waiting for the bus, and they don't even know the fight song. Everybody's out there standing for autographs, but they don't even know the fight song. It took like momentous thing to get the cheers going so that the boys would hear some cheers when they got off the bus. I did that. I started that. Maybe it would have started without me, but it wasn't going until they were pulling up. I went to the game. I'm shouting to the top of my lungs, and I got the crowd going. I got all kinds of blowback. Just me and my wife just shouting. I didn't hear hardly, like, so unenthusiastic to "Let's Go Irish" beat Hoosiers. Like they were way more enthusiastic in our own stadium. And I came in. The first thing I hear is "F Rudy." I just stood in the stage and said, "F you." He looked at the floor. I kept walking. Next guy, drunken Irish. Like, "Hey man, my dad knew the guy who drew this. This is not just drunken Irish. Nothing drunken about it." Even though I was drunk myself, doesn't matter. But besides the point, I know what they're trying to get at. They're going for the low blows all the time. The guys in front of us were worse. But before the game was over, when it was "Peace be with you," that was my favorite part. When I could turn around to the guys calling drunk Irish and say "Peace be with you" before the end of the game.
What does any of this have to do? What does any of that have to do with me not wanting to be in a mixed crowd in an environment that I know I'm going to be miserable in and not enjoy? Like, I don't why are you telling me how to feel? Why are you telling me how to feel? You do what you want to do and let me do what I want to do. It's the weirdest thing ever.
Don't be the weirdest rage because I call you wine and cheese just because you're so proud about not showing up to these games.
Dude,
people do it.
Kids
are doing it. Grandmas are doing it.
Dude, everyone is different. If you find excitement and fulfillment in that environment, why? We're different people. You do what you want.
A game that you're scared to go to a game because protecting your emotions.
Scared. I don't want to put
your emotions.
I don't want to be in that protecting my emotions. You fool. What do you think was more? What do you think was more?
Tell me whatever you want.
It's my show. Shut up. What do you think? What do you think protected my emotions more? Being at a game where if we lose, I can just shut down after it and be miserable and be alone and go to the hotel and be upset in my own thoughts, or sitting here and getting trolled for 3 hours after the game and having all of our people call me miserable and upset, needing to vent? Which of those do you no, you don't, because you're coming at me about it. This is the stupidest argument I've ever heard. Don't ever tell me how to be a fan again. What I do for this fan base, you have no freaking idea how drained I am after listening to 3 hours of miserable Notre Dame people here. Okay, well then back the hell off and let me do what I want to do. But you calling me a wine and cheeser is absolutely outrageous. Never call again. Get out of my show. Get out of my show. See ya. You're gone. Get out of my show. Don't ever come back. Go find another show. You're gone. You're gone. Leave. See ya. Dr. John, what's going on?
Well, how you doing, bud?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Oh,
you know what? You know what, John? I'd rather put my other dog down today than talk to that guy for one more minute. That's how I'm doing.
Well, I'll tell you what, we all cope in different ways, and you were going about earlier about, and I don't even know what it was about because I don't have the show up on anything. I'm just on the phone. About giving you a break. Well, what I have to do is I have to take a break, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get away from Notre Dame football for a while. I'm going to give you a thumbs up every show, but I'm taking a hiatus. So,
yeah, everybody, listen, man. Doc, everybody's got to do what they got to do, and everybody's,
I'll tell you here's something funny. I always had a little ego trip because you take my call first normally on Wednesday, and I was nervous about what I'm going to tell you in a little bit. But after hearing that call, I even feel more strongly about what I'm going to do. I just my thing is I can't deal with the negativity in it for a while. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I know that chat's going to be full of it. I would rather listen to Renee drop the F-bomb every 2 seconds. That doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
But I just am not in the mood for any negativity right now. And after the game on Monday, we watched it at a friend's house, and I certainly had copious quantities of alcohol. And when I got home, I was driven home, of course. And my daughter went in to the living room to watch you on the big screen, and I brought it up on my computer. And as soon as that Ohio State guy dropped something more than football, I tuned it out. And you cope with David Gilmour. I turned on the High Kings and just sat here and listened to Irish music for about an hour, dozing in and off. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to send you an email explaining some other stuff that I'm not going to do on the phone because I'd be just doing the same thing that I'm complaining about. So, but you have done a remarkable job with this show. I commend you for it. I don't know how your skin holds up on a lot of this stuff. It's got to be awful tough. The skin, I mean. And I would just, I'm gonna check in with a thumbs up every show because I know that helps you. And for a while, I'm gonna not look at Notre Dame football for a while.
Yeah, everybody's got to do what they need to do, and that's fine. But Doc, listen, man. When things go well and Notre Dame's winning 13 games in a row and they're beating Georgia and they're beating Penn State, and I'm here and I'm happy and I'm proud and I'm kind of bragging about what we're doing and all that, that's the plus side. And then when things go bad, I have an obligation to be here for that too. And if I'm going to take the good, I got to sit here and take the bad and get trolled and listen to our people be mad and frustrated. Like, that all comes with it. And that's just my life. And so that's what I do, man. Good or bad, I got to be here. It's the right thing to do, man. I can't just leave because I'm mad. I can't just not do this. Like, that is weak. And I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
You got a job to do, man. And you're going to do it. I don't. I'm retired.
Yeah.
I can just check in and give you a thumbs up and wish you, hope you have a great show because I know you will. I will be back at some point. I'm going to miss Connor. I'm going to miss Tom Frawley. Those two guys, I think they got probably the best handle on it than a lot of the guys that call in. But I'm just going to check out of Notre Dame football for a while and maybe look and see when lacrosse starts. So
yeah,
but
Doc.
Anyway,
Doc, I love you, buddy.
Yeah.
I love you, buddy. And it was great being at
you too. And
it was great being at the Indiana game with you. And we had that moment, and that was a big deal. And take the time you need, decompress, do what you need to do, and I'll see your number when it pops up.
I will be back at you. We had a hell of a season, and that's where it should end, right there. Just feeling great about what we did do, and amen. Anyway, I'm going to send you an email and outline a little bit more what has concerned me, and it's just for my own edification, I guess. So
Do what you need to do, Doc.
I will do that, sir. You have a great show. I will see you down the road.
Yep, we'll talk to you, man. Thanks for everything. You're always here. I'm taking a 10-second break to cool off. Let's do a couple more chats. We'll go back to Chicago's very own. $5 holler from Rose Quartz. Took Kirby 6 years. Took Day 6 years. Y'all know how much time Freeman needs to get all of his recruits in. Got to lose before you can win. Hang around the rim. Yeah, that's the big picture, man. Took Day 6. James, $5 holler. If the Bengals don't win the AFC North next year, Golden's going to make a big mistake because Burrow will want to be traded. Man, I don't follow any of the NFL stuff. I'm so full with this. I don't follow any of that. $5 holler from my brother. Whether John is at the game or not, his brand supported multiple playoff game tailgates. That's a really good point, too. Gouldsby had the flag up. My brother had it up in Miami. $10 holler from WPP. I don't agree with this caller, but I respect the passion with which he holds his opinion. But I will say this. The ND fan base needs to stop with the "you're not a real fan." Real fan. Listen, man, I don't tell anybody else how to fan or not to fan. If you find fulfillment and joy being at these games and you like the environment and the excitement of that, you should do that. Not everybody wants to do that. I'm one of those people. I know it will not go good for me, and I don't need that problem, so I avoid it. I call that maturity and kind of knowing yourself. That is not a healthy environment for me, and I have no interest in doing it, and I have no problem saying that. I would argue I serve a much bigger purpose taking miserable calls for 3 hours here than I would being at the game and then we lose and then I'm not doing a post-game show. I would argue I serve a much larger purpose for the fan base here. $5 holler. The caller was mad at you for not going to the games was hilarious. He's a big, tough guy, wants ND fans to swing on people. He said to do it for Mary. I'm just picture that'll be good for content. Me getting bailed out of jail for getting in a fight with an Ohio State person. That's great. How's that going to be for the brand? Pilney, $10 holler. The fact the Natty game was a missed opportunity rather than a blowout and 2 major bowl victories in 30 years is progress. I think in time we will see that. Listen, can you not be the subject of criticism, John? I think he was just giving you pushback on your comments. He called me a wine and cheese fan when I literally made a t-shirt with wine and cheese with an X through it. All I do is push back on the wine and cheesers. Oh, Chicago's very own Tom Frawley. What's going on, buddy?
John, what a day, huh?
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's a great start. It's going great.
Yeah, I think it's a little time for reflection and perspective. That poor fella that accused you of not wanting to go to the games, and I can tell you this: for about 27 years, I averaged 5 home games. I averaged 5 of 6 home games every year. Plus, I would go to 2 or 3 away games. And I know what that's like. And I don't want to do it anymore either. I don't want to be, certainly I don't want to be in Columbus, Ohio, or anywhere near that fan base. I can guarantee you that.
I've been to the Big House 15 times. I've seen at least 10 Notre Dame games up there. The other ones were Ohio State games. You know, I've seen it. And just to see what they're going through, the prices of the tickets, they will go, even before kickoff, they were still going for $1,800 for nosebleed seats up in the corner of the end zone. I mean, you know, even if I had that kind of money away, I'm not going to do that to go. It's ridiculous to spend that kind of money to see a football game.
Hey, man, listen, Tom, like I'm saying, if people want to do it and they have the money and that's fun for them, go for it. I
agree.
You know,
but
and whatever.
To call you out and put you on that plane is like, and I got to tell you another thing too, the lack of civility at a lot of these games. Now, the most docile place in big-time college football is Notre Dame Stadium. It's the classiest fans going. Are there jerks in our fan base? Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you right now, where my seats used to be for many years was section 15, and I was right on the aisle, and it was always across the aisle from the visiting teams, the bulk of their seats in the southeast end zone. So I saw every fan base that came through there. And, you know, even then, people were a lot more. I'm going back to the mid-'80s when I started sitting there. And I'm talking USC and Michigan, our two biggest rivals, and Purdue, believe it or not, and Michigan State. The mouthiest of them all was Michigan State. They're brutal.
Yeah.
They're almost as bad as Ohio State. But you know what? It's just the way things are now. I think social media has a lot to do with it. People get stirred up. They read all this stuff, and it's garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, let me ask you this, man. Now that the immediacy of the game has worn off a tad bit, do you have any bigger picture perspectives on like where Notre Dame is and where they need to go?
Yeah.
And I would love to know, like a day and a half later, now that things have cooled off a little bit, what you're thinking.
Well, you know, I went back and there's a fella on the chat, Shane Douglas. He was talking about the fact that, you know, we didn't get the ball downfield. And let's talk about the quarterback situation. So Riley Leonard, hats off to him. He was a good fill-in quarterback, and he led us to as far as he could lead us. But if you remember, during a press conference leading up to the Indiana game, he openly said that the receivers, he said Greathouse and the rest of the receivers have been open all year. I just haven't gotten them the ball downfield. And they asked him to elaborate on that. He said, well, anything beyond 12 yards. So he admitted that. So we knew we had all that information and we saw it. But looking at what he did, once they gave him a little pocket protection and he stayed in that pocket, I mean, he purported himself very well. 22 of 31 for 255, 2 touchdowns, and ran for another, no interceptions. If you would have told me that leading in before the game, I would have had a grin from ear to ear. But going forward, if they don't develop C.J. Carr as a highly recruited, and he's meant to, from everything that I've heard, this kid's got NFL arm talent right now. You have to develop this kid and have an open battle and let Gino Guidugli and Denbrock let these kids throw the ball. This conservative crap. I mean, my God. But I think the future is bright because of who is actually on the roster right now as far as receivers. Look at our tight ends coming back. I mean, and then we got Jim Flanagan's kid. He's 6'5". He's supposed to be all-world. We've got talent there. We've got enough to get us back to the playoffs. and I'd love this. And I really do believe that what they've already picked up in the portal to fill holes, the future's very bright. Look, you know, like you said a little bit ago, look how long it took Ryan Day to get there. I mean, it took Harbaugh all that time. We should not have even sniffed the national championship game based on all the injuries, but we did. So that's intestinal fortitude. That's a togetherness, and it does come down to good coaching. They just ran into a juggernaut. That's a phenomenal football team they played. And we've got to look at the positive. Things will take time. It took Michelangelo 4.5 years to paint the Sistine Chapel. Good things take time.
Yeah, I wrote that article about Kirby and the years it took him at a prime institution to get there,
Yes.
and about Ryan Day's journey at Ohio State. And these are places where they are built to win, football factories, and it takes time. Like I tried to throw in that perspective, but Tom,
Yeah.
I get it, man. We got within arm's reach. We got within arm's reach of the title, and we fell short, and everybody's wound up and frustrated about it, and everybody's venting in their own way, and I am, and everybody else is.
And I get it.
It's just been rough.
I mean, I was hurt, but I put, you know what, when I texted you yesterday, tell you this still stings, but then I thought about it, and I immediately thought of all the things that I was grateful for in my life, and being a part of this Notre Dame community, and that was up at the top of the list. It was in my top 5, and I thank God for the experience. And look at all the great people that we've met, and the great experiences it is. You've got to embrace that. But when I first got on the chat this morning, I'm not going to name names. They knew who they are. But the negativity, it's just, I had to say a prayer for them right away. And I'm not being sanctimonious, but it's like, there's got to be something wrong with them internally. That's their outward manifestation of how miserable they must be when they've got to go onto a chat and piss on everything that this team accomplished. Really? I mean, it's almost as absurd as Ohio State fans 2 days after the national championship are still hanging around the Notre Dame site. If Notre Dame won the national championship, do you think I'd be hanging around an Ohio podcast?
Yeah, it's listen, man.
So.
Tom, I get it. Everybody's upset. People are lashing out. Like I expect
but
that.
There's nothing to be. Look, there's nothing to be upset about because the future is bright. This was not a hollow season. The foundation is there. I mean, even if Al Golden does leave, I think Marcus Freeman goes to. I don't know if Mickens will get the job. All these things that we don't know yet because we're not behind the scenes. And I'm telling you, here's the last point, and this is a big one. This is the first time since the mid-'80s that the administration, the head football coach and his staff, the team, and everybody's on board to get a winner. So all these people speculating about the NIL money, is Notre Dame. Yes. Pete Bavacqua is all in. He's an all-in guy, and they will. But they're not going to go out. They're not going to go out and get a running back like Ohio State did from Mississippi. They're not going to get that type of player because let's just face facts. But they're going to the ones that they could plug in. Look at the kids. Look at the kid they got from Virginia. The receiver and the defensive tackle that they got from Louisville. Those kids are going to be plug them in right now.
Yeah, it's you gotta no regression. Like that's where my mind's going to, Tom, is you gotta take the experience of this and learning how to win in some of these playoff games, and you gotta build from it. And
the other thing, John.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. You got to learn how to win. Look at one of my favorite football teams of all time, the 1985 Bears. What did they do in '84? It was the same team. They got smoked in the NFC Championship, 24-0 by San Francisco. Bill Walsh outcoached Ditka and Buddy Ryan, and they outplayed. And it was basically the same team that became the 85 Bears. They just had to learn how to win. I remember poor Walter Payton sitting. He wouldn't leave the bench. He was so heartbroken. He had his his head in his hands for about a half an hour after that game. He talked to the press, and he grabbed all the captains together. He grabbed Singletary and the rest of the boys. He said, we're not going to let this happen again. I think that happened. I think that's going to happen with our nucleus of our team.
Yeah.
You got to believe that. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's
You know what I mean?
listen, Tom, I get it though. Like, people are just so frustrated, and it's going to be a rough run here until
Then get over it.
you know.
It's time to get over it. Cut that shit loose, because do you want, really, seriously, do you want that toxicity running through your veins every day in your mind? There's a big world out there. Notre Dame is right at the top of my list. It is.
Yeah.
But my God, like Dr. John said, he's got to pump the brakes and take a break from all the negativity. You can't be surrounded by that negativity all the time.
Yeah. It's
You know what I mean?
listen,
That's why
man,
I don't get a lot of the stuff.
it's been a really rough, day and a half for me. So I admit I need to decompress, and this show is not helping today, but the job's got to be done,
Can I
Tom.
ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there any chance that you could sneak down to Florida with the family? Notre Dame just lost. You just buried your dog. God rest.
Yeah, we're
Is there any
talking
way
about
we can
that.
sneak out and
I really
take a long weekend.
I really appreciate that, Tom. We're actually talking about that, so I could get down to our family place in Florida and sit on the porch
Do it.
and overlook the golf course and the palm trees and drink a couple Miller Lights and
Absolutely.
yeah, I think I'm gonna.
Too short to be.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna
Even
look
if
into
you
that.
have to put this on hold. I mean, seriously, if you have to put this on hold for a week or 10 days, do it. Not much is going to change. We all see what's going on. We could pay attention to it. You need to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, I appreciate you, man. I love your passion. I love the way you look at everything. I love you, buddy. But we'll get through this, man. But I understand everybody's frustrated, and I am too. There's just my patience level for certain things is really my patience level.
I'm right with you.
My patience level for certain. My patience level for certain strands of thought is very low right now. And of all the things on my bingo list today, me getting called a wine and cheese, not a real fan, was not on the list. And I have it wasn't on the list.
When I heard that, I mean, geez, that was a pretty, that was like a kick in the stones.
Yeah.
You didn't need that.
It was.
But, I don't know if that guy was trolling you or whatever. I hope he's still listening. You know what? I'm like, hey, dude, grow up. I mean, you want to start going in talking about going into a stadium to chant back and forth. That's almost as bad as the hooliganisms that go on in England and Europe with the hooligan soccer thing. Is that what you wanted to come through? You want people to get banned and have barricades and fences, and you can only play a game at 9:30 in the morning because they don't want drunken fans going crazy.
Yeah.
People, they lose perspective, John.
Yeah.
And I hope he gains some perspective.
Yeah. Hey,
he's got to grow up.
Tom, I love you, buddy. I really do, man.
You too.
I do. Hey, take it easy, Tom. I'll talk to you offline. Have a good one.
We're going to rise again, baby. And I got a feeling we're going to see Ohio State in the next 2 years in the playoffs again. And I can't wait. Bring it on, baby.
Tom, I love you. Never change, buddy. Never change. Always Irish senior. Kennedy family's been all in with Indy since the Rockney years. I'm hoping it's just general frustration, but I just didn't have the... Listen, I don't know how to say this without it coming off like I'm asking for sympathy or something. When you are as into this as I am and care as much about this as I do, to quit my stable corporate job to make this my full-time job every single day of my life and quit a reliable corporate job to do this because I love it so much and it's so intense to me. I don't think people understand the toll it takes sometimes to do this show when bad things happen and I'm miserable and I internalize everybody else's misery for 3 hours and in with the trolls twisting the knife. That's not the easiest thing. And I don't know how to say that without people being like, well, then why are you doing this if you can't handle it? Like, it's not like that. I love what I do. I wouldn't want to do anything else. I'm just saying I internalize all of that misery the whole time we do a losing post-game show and all that stuff. I take all of that in through all your pain. It isn't the easiest thing to deal with at times. And so with that in mind, any suggestion that like I'm not bought in enough is really going to rub me a wrong way. It's just going to rub me a wrong way. Everybody should fan however they want to fan. Everybody should fan the way you want to fan. I want more Notre Dame people that want to be at these games and do all that. I just know it's not a healthy environment for me. And I don't need to get arrested fighting, like getting my ass beat by some huge Ohio State guy because I'm not going to be able to keep my mouth shut. I don't need that problem. And I don't want to walk around with Goolsby and make him fight my battles either. That's the other option, is to have Goolsby with me and then I can run my mouth all I want. I don't want him to get in trouble defending my honor either. I just know I'm not going to be able I just know I'm not going to be able to keep it safe. And I'm not putting myself in that position. It'll be better. I actually look at that as a sign of maturity, that I know myself well enough to know I would not do well in that environment. It's literally whatever wine and cheese is, I'm so far the other way that it's me literally saying I couldn't handle being in the building with the opposition without having a problem happen. That is the exact opposite of what wine and cheese means. That's why I lost my patience. Because I'm so wound up and I can't even look at another team's colors and not get enraged. It's literally the exact opposite of wine and cheese, to the point where I cannot handle being in the building half full of those people. That's my frustration. It's literally the total extreme polar opposite of wine and cheese is where I'm at, to the point where I can't even be in the same building with those people because I hate it that much. That's my frustration. It is the opposite. But I'm just telling you guys, I love what I do. I quit my full-time job to do this. This is all I've ever wanted to do. Man, I carry some of this stuff with me on these shows. You can't just listen to 3 hours of misery and then hang up and it all goes away. You internalize some of that stuff, man. It is not the easiest road in the world, but it's the one I chose and I'm happy to do it. But when we're all miserable like that, man, it permeates. I feel that, man. I feel that. But I understand everybody's frustrated right now. I understand everybody's frustrated and everybody's venting. It's okay. And I see 574 Kevin's still here. So God bless you for not leaving, I guess, man. We're just going to disagree on this one. But calling me a wine and cheese really it got to me because I'm so far on the other side of that. That's where my position's coming from, is I get so worked up and I don't want to be near the enemy. So whatever. Everybody's different. Oh, everybody's different. Mark with glasses, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, Tom's call was great, and he was great on the post game show. I was down real bad. I was worried after the game we were going to get a bunch of bullshit and nonsense, and didn't see much of that. But his call immediately following the game was really great. Kind of put it into words. But where I'm at is, like, Ohio State's a great team, and I'm trying to get over it. And I kind of, like, imagine going to a Pink Floyd concert and David Gilmour only plays all his solo stuff. And that's what it felt like Monday. Like, just play the hits. The offense, the defense just looked unrecognizable, and it's just the loss is just really hard to stomach because for that reason for me.
Yeah,
And,
Mark,
those.
the proximity to the championship is twisting the knife, right? Like the fact that you are within arm's reach, one more game is really, it's a lot different than like you lost in the regular season and you didn't make the championship or whatever, and you have problems, whatever. I'm just saying, like, knowing that title was within reach. I did a Patreon, I forget which, it's all blending into me. And a part of it, I said, when I was getting my stuff ready to leave from upstairs to downstairs to do the post-game show, the last thing I saw was my mom putting all the champagne and stuff away in a big tote, like getting it. And it was, dude, it hit me, Mark, that I was turning the corner with my laptop like, oh boy, this show's going to be rough. And the last thing I see is her putting all the champagne unopened back in this tote and all the party supplies. And I was like, man, I just froze. I had the door open to the basement. I just looked at her putting all the champagne away and I froze. And I was like, dude, it really, that moment hit me of like, we were really that close. Like we were that close, and she was just putting it away for another time. And it just, the proximity to that title is really, really, that's what gets you, man. It's tough to be the number two.
Yeah, and it's still kind of a blur. Like, and I can't speak to any specifics, but like when Ohio State scored those 31 straight points, and it was like well into the third, it was 31-7, and meanwhile the offense during that span, all they did was 11 plays for 11 yards, and they only ran the ball twice, and one of those was on a 2nd and 25. I just don't understand what the game plan was. The first drive was cool, but Riley Leonard had 295 total yards. The team had 308, so he was 96% of our offense.
Yeah. So Mark, what's God, man, you're frustrated with the offense after the first drive, and then you're really frustrated with the defense until Ohio State throttled down a little bit and felt like they had control of the moment. Almost, they felt a little too comfortable almost. Notre Dame almost came back. They had a chance at least. Mark, anything big picture? Like, what do you make of like the stat of Ohio State having 14 5-stars on the roster to your 1? Are you thinking about that top end talent? And do you feel like Notre Dame may need to get a few more of those ready-made to go now star type guys to get it over the hump? Or do you think they could really keep doing it the way they're doing it with a different result of, or anything about the talent you're thinking about?
It's kind of hard to examine because of the injuries, and then you kind of compare to what we saw in the field. And like late in the game, I think Ohio State started playing conservative, and then we started being able to throw the ball. So like the final score, like I don't know if it necessarily reflected how the game went, because for the majority of that game, it didn't even feel like we had a chance to win. And then late, it was just kind of, we were just kind of hopeful. And I think, the fake punt kind of reflected that, like kind of desperation.
Mark, here's the other thing, dude. Fake punts are great when no one knows they're coming. Everyone knew that one was coming, man. It was the most obvious thing in the world. Like the idea of the fake punt is it's like everybody doesn't see it coming, but I felt like I know,
that's
but
the worst part about it.
It just cracks me up because it was the most obvious place for that to happen, man.
Yeah, and as frustrated as I am with the play calling and game plan with our best player getting 4 carries, like the defense, Ohio State scored in their first 5 possessions, and it didn't even look like they had to try that hard. And when it was 31-7, I couldn't wrap my mind around what happened.
Dude,
what? Our defense,
what was the
dictated the game.
Mark, How do you have this defense that keeps you in every single game all year? Even the one game you lost, you didn't even give up a lot of points in. How could that defense end up? Is Ohio State that good? Like, they weren't against Michigan. Like, are they that good that our defenders weren't even on the screen when they were catching balls? Like, what was the plan? Because whatever it was, you weren't even on the screen when they were catching balls. What's the deal?
I mean,
Uh,
it was torture watching that defense. I mean, generally they're exciting to watch and make plays, and like you said, they were just out of position constantly. They looked slow. Everything Ohio State did worked, and I don't even want to rewatch it to try to figure out. I just want to, bury that game tape, forget about it. I wouldn't be able to make heads or tails out of it anyways.
yeah,
But
it's man,
it just was so out of character.
This one hurts, man. This one hurts. It's going to take us some time to get over. And there are some lessons learned here for the Notre Dame program about you were able to do it your way and make it into the final two. But I think there were some tough lessons learned about what it's going to take to get this program over that hump. Health is a part of it. More playmakers up front that are healthy along the defensive front's a part of it. And you have to I'm sorry, man, as many points as this team scored on bad defenses all year, you're going to have a better offense. You just are. You're going to have to be able to push the ball more consistently. You're going to need more of those freak athletes.
Yeah.
Like, I think those are lessons I've got to learn. It looks like you're able to get pretty darn far with good culture, good energy, and the try hard stuff we had going on. And the next man up. You need more than that to hoist the trophy. And I think that's a big lesson everybody needs to learn from this. And nobody wants to hear it, but I think that's some of what we learned. Mark, I love you, buddy. You're here. Yeah. You're here for everything. And you know what, Mark? Before you know it, we'll all be at the blue and gold game and we'll do it all over again.
Well, since I just complained so much, I want to go out on a high note. And like after the dust settles and emotions come down, like, in my opinion, this is still one of the best head coaching jobs I've ever seen, all things considered. Record 14 wins, the 2 big bowl wins, 3 top 10 wins in 3 weeks. And I don't want to get that lost in my frustration. And I think, Freeman's going to continue to build, and the depth and development kind of become the strength of this program, or it used to be a weakness. And I think that's undeniable. And I just think this season kind of set a foundation. And so we all just got to put on a brave face and get through this.
Yeah.
And
there should be a grieving period, man. Year. If you love this stuff the way everybody does that's here on the Notre Dame side, man, there should be a grieving period. I don't think that's wrong or anything, and everybody needs to process it the way they need to. I'm not, everybody's frustrated. I'm not going to try and not hold it against people. Man, I appreciate you. You're always here for everything, loyal to the show. You come to all of our live events. I love you, buddy. Thanks for being around.
All right. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep. Have a good one, man. 574 Kevin. Tom Frawley, I respect. Always Irish senior respect. I stick to my point, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate your son. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. See, we're maturing. We're finding ways to resolve our differences. Tom Frawley says 574 Kevin, we'll just chalk it up to a bad exchange today. Already put it in the rear view mirror. There, that's progress. And here's the other thing, you guys, seriously. Don't let an account called Ronald McDonald troll you into letting your blood pressure get up. Like, with certain people that are being serious, then you can have a debate and let it get your Irish up or whatever. Don't let anything a guy whose account name is Ronald McDonald says troll you. Like, I'm fighting with people, but like that are serious about the guy's name is Ronald McDonald and his avatar is the picture of a clown. Don't let somebody who's telling you that it's a troll clown account troll and clown you. Dude, I think I'm losing my mind. I really do need to get down to Florida. I need to go to Castle Kennedy down on that golf course and breathe in some ocean air and look at the palm trees and have a couple beers and watch the old people 4-putt on this par 3 right out back. Like, I just can't live in a world where Ronald is literally like, some people, you guys, you're like, some people you're like, I can't tell whether this guy's serious or if he's trolling or clowning us. But when a guy's name is Ronald McDonald and he's wearing the whole outfit, don't let that guy bother you, man. Don't let that guy bother you. Oh, that's so funny. It's so funny to me. I just don't have it in me to argue with a clown. Like, oh, man. Oh, that is funny. Couple super chats. I'll go back to the calls. Oh, man. This is a riot. This is group therapy, folks. I got that graduate degree in psychology for a reason. I just never dreamed it would be for this reason. Eric, $10 holler. Sorry for joining late. Great season. However, another football season of wait till next year. When does this misery end? I've been asking that for 40 years. Pilney, $20 holler. The coaching's way out of the talent right now. Freeman overcoached and under-talented, massively injured team with weak spots. D-line recruiting, downfield offensive weapons. I feel in my bones Notre Dame's close. As flawed and banged up as Notre Dame was, they made it into the championship game. If that's not some level of progress to you, listen, man. I agree with Pilney. Flawed roster, even if healthy, there were flaws on this team, and you're banged up, and you still found a way to make it in the championship game. If that isn't progress to you, man, I don't know what is. Like, I know everybody's hurt and frustrated, but if there isn't some progress in what we saw this year, I just don't think you're looking close enough, or you're so mad and blinded by that you can't see it. I don't know. It isn't ultimate progress. That would be you have the trophy, and we don't. But to act like no progress was made and ignore that playoff run and what they did with the banged up and flawed roster to make it to the final two, that's some impressive stuff. That being said, you're at a talent deficit to a team like Ohio State. You just are, and it showed. Pilney, $20 holler. This may be more motivating than NIU if used correctly. May put a fire in the belly of the team. Shows the azimuth is it takes a while to develop players into top performers. ND won't buy their roster and shouldn't. Yeah, it takes time to develop some of that, but I'm also going to say that's why you need to recruit more 5-stars, because it takes much less time to get a Maserati on the field that's just a freak athlete. I'm not backing down from this. Notre Dame needs more elite high-end talent that can go play early to combine with the great job this staff is doing with identifying some lower rated guys that are 3-stars, and then they come and play like 5-stars or whatever. I love all of that, identifying the evaluations to identify some of those guys and get them in, and then they play better than their star ranking. I love all that, but that can't be your whole deal. That can't be your whole deal. That needs to be the bottom third of a recruiting class, or those developmental guys that you're finding traits in, and then you build them up. The top end needs to be 5-star, go make plays for me next year. Receiver, burn everybody next year. Defensive line, you're an animal. Give me a couple more youngs. Give me a couple more youngs that could go out there young and be contributing. You need 3-4 of them on each side of the ball. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. ND will always have a later spring. Somebody asked me what the date of the spring game was, and my response was, I have no idea, but I know it'll be 26 degrees and windy. Like, I have no idea when the game is. I just know it's going to be cold. Pilney, $10 holler. I think Freeman keeps the OSU game tape for motivation. Top end talent's an issue. ND squeaked by Penn State after being pushed around, then got pushed around by OSU. No pass rush matters. Yeah. I think that's fair. Man, this is just rough stuff. Everybody's so miserable. Brendan, $5 super sticker. Thanks, man. Not even a comment. You could comment something. You could troll me. You could do whatever you want. Justin, $2. Golden gone. And who else enters the portal? I don't know. Pendleton, apparently. I haven't seen anything else since I've started. I haven't seen anything officially saying Golden's gone, but that's the word on the street, I think, isn't it? 917, what's going on?
Hey, John, it's West Palm Pat. Thanks for taking the call.
Oh, no problem, man. What's going on?
Yeah, you thought you were having a bad day before. I'm just kidding you.
Yeah, dude. You know what, man? I knew it would be like this. This is just rough, and I signed up for this, man. This is what I want to do for a living, and when it's good, Pat, let me tell you, man, when it's good and I get off of the call-in show and we're all fired up because we beat Georgia, or we came back against Penn State, I have an adrenaline rush, like a runner's high, like in that zone, and I can't go to sleep. I get that runner's high off the energy of all this when we're celebrating and everybody's excited and the numbers are good and everybody's engaging and everybody's like fired up. But man, the same thing happens when things go bad, man. I wear some of that and I carry some of that. But this is what I want to do. You got to take the good and the bad.
Yeah, John, I think that guy who called, everybody's talking about the first caller, the 574. He paid you a pretty big compliment if you really want to look at it. I mean, look, if I got on here and said I don't go to away games, no one would give a rat's ass. But he was saying that you have a big platform and you speak for the Notre Dame nation.
Yeah, I get that.
Now, his take on it was awry. That's a pretty big compliment. I mean, if you take a step back, that's a compliment, I think. I don't know. That's just the way I...
Yeah, if you look at it that way, I could get it. But it just, man, I care so deeply about all of this. And I just feel like everybody knew that. And I'm wound tight and I've had a rough couple days and maybe I didn't react to it well, but it did rub me the wrong way. And I'm not going to shy away from that.
Well, the problem with our fan base is everybody draws a line and everybody on their side of the line is a true fan.
Yeah.
Everybody not on the other side of the line is not a true fan. So some people say if you don't stand up for the entire game, you're not a true fan. Well, suppose you can't stand up. Suppose you're old and you can't stand up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
Other people say that
it gets really, really tough. I gave up telling people how to fan like a long time. Like I do the wine and cheese shirt as a troll because I think it's funny. But really, man, like, and especially the Notre Dame fan base is so diverse from so many different like walks of life and different ways of thinking, a lot more diverse than a lot of other fan bases because Notre Dame's so national. Everybody needs to fan how you need to fan. I personally just know going to one of those big bowl game environments would not be a good situation for me. And I have no interest in doing it. And that is just me, but I want all the Notre Dame fans that do want to do it to go fill the building. It's just not going to be me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Totally fair. And the way I come at it is I'm free to be a critic of the head coach and cheer on the team. You know what I mean? Like those two things aren't one and the same.
Yeah.
But I've been denounced as wine and cheese for that. But anyway, the reason I'm calling though, John, is I'll make this quick because I know you have other callers. To me, Notre Dame, I always try to take a historical look at things, right? And I think Notre Dame football hangs on the knife's edge in the next 4 to 5 months. And what I mean by that is the wine and cheese crowd is satisfied with a season like the one we just saw. They'd be satisfied with a 9-3 season, to be honest. They think they've checked the box and given enough to the football program. And if you look historically, John, Holtz had success. Monk Malloy came in. He pulled back. What's his name? Kelly had success in 2012. What happened, John? Our starting quarterback gets suspended within 3 months of that championship game. The Frozen Five. Remember those guys?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that. Yeah.
For nothing, they got suspended. That happened in 2014. My point is, the wine and cheese crowd may think they've made enough concessions such that they're going to start pulling back on the football program.
Interesting.
And
Now,
we'll know that's
okay.
true.
Now, let me ask.
Yeah.
Let me ask this. I understand what you're bringing up. I think this is an interesting through line. Let me ask this. I don't believe that a guy like Pipa Vacqua would be the type that's going to pull back now when they're getting closer than they've been in 30 years and winning playoff games. I don't feel like Pipa Vacqua and the new modern Notre Dame leadership, I don't feel like he's the type of guy that's going to pull back the reins now when he saw how close we got. Now isn't the time to pull back the reins. Like, I have a hard time thinking that Bavak was going to do that.
Bavacqua, Swarbrick, they're all puppets, John. They're all puppets. They answer to the president, who answers to the board of trustees. That's where the power is.
But you think that you think that Father Dowd and Pipa Bach were like, well, we made it to the title and lost. The guess now it's time to like not try as hard. I have a really hard time believing this leadership group's going to do that.
No, I'm telling you, Bavacqua has no say in the matter. That's what I'm telling you. He has no say in the matter. Because what's going to happen, John, let me just put it this way. Ohio State just won the championship with a $25 million payroll, right? I got to tell you, that's going to be considered cheap in a year or two. I'm telling you, you're going to have to go $40, $50 million payroll real fast. So the most that Bavacqua will do, or the president will approve, or the board of trustees will approve, is $25 million. In other words, we're going to keep fighting yesterday's battle, not looking ahead. I said this about 6 months ago before the season started, that we got to go orders of magnitude money-wise to start competing with the big boys. And I could see Bavacqua saying, hey, I just got beat by OSU. They have $25 million. And the board of trustees will say, all right, here's $25 million. But that's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. In other words, we need orders of magnitude increases in our budget.
Okay, now you don't think, couldn't you see us? I actually appreciate this line of thinking. This is a different angle, and I actually appreciate it because it's off the nightmare track I've been on. Don't you think that if there's boosters around this program that have deep pockets or whatever, and they see the run that we made, and then you just fall short in the title game, but you made it that far, don't you think that seeing that like there's some proof of concept Freeman can go on a run and win these playoff games would induce them to say now's the time to kick it up a notch, because like there's some proof of concept that this is going in the right direction and you've won more major bowl games in a month than you've won in 30 years combined? Like, I would think that would encourage more donors to buy in, because they're like, I'm starting to see this a little bit of return on investment. We're winning these playoff games. I would like to think that would supercharge the spending. Don't you get what I mean?
Yeah, no. And I hope look, that's a really good point. And it's possible. But the problem is, and I think that we're seeing a seismic shift in college football where the money is going up north. In other words, Michigan and Ohio State have won the last two titles. And Ohio State has this gigantic alumni base. Michigan has this guy, Larry Ellison. You know who he is? He's the fourth richest guy in the world. He's the founder of Oracle. And he's got like 400 billion. My point is, it's going to take a shitload, pardon my French, a lot of money to compete. And to the extent the university, the priests, let's just call them, have a hand in doling that out. And maybe they won't. Maybe they're not going to be involved. But if they do, I could see them fainting from the money that's going to be required to compete. So I think that my point is, I think that in the next few months, and I'll keep it short because I know you have other callers, we're going to see continued progress, right? Or what you're going to see is 2013 all over again, where they start pulling back. And we'll know they're pulling back, John, when you see like starting players start jumping in the portal and everybody's like, what the hell? It's because they didn't academically qualify. The universities tightening up things. And in the modern era, kids don't just sit out a year because they're suspended. They jump ship. And so if we see some head-scratching decisions on the behalf of, players who have a future at Notre Dame jumping ship for no apparent reason, it's because the university's pulling back on them. You know what I mean? Anyway, I hope that doesn't happen, and maybe it won't. Maybe this new president is different. I hope he is.
Yeah.
I really hope he is. But I fear the worst based on his history.
Well,
anyway,
let's.
John, I gotta run.
Yeah,
really appreciate you taking the call.
Thanks for the call, man. I understand the angle there. I think Pete Bavacqua is going to be more fired up than ever to support Marcus Freeman, get this over the hump. If ever there were a time for NIL money and donations and all that big booster stuff to boost, now would be it. Think about it. You could actually argue if Notre Dame won the championship, that'd be the time to pull off, because they would go, what we're doing is obviously enough. I would think getting this close and falling short would only increase the buy-in, because there's a proof of concept that Freeman's getting over the hump and doing some of this. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just tough. Uncle Lou, y'all okay? Lou, you do a good job, man, with all the trolling. It's I remember, I remember the video Lou did saying, the winner of the Indiana Notre Dame game gets the pleasure of getting destroyed by Georgia in the next round, and that just didn't quite work out. I also found it very rich that the narrative was, we got this mobile quarterback, and the offense is going to be more dangerous, and he brought us back against Texas, and this offense is going to be more dangerous because now this guy's got legs, and you're going to add that dimension to the playoff. I was also told all of the inefficiencies that Georgia showed during the year, I was told that when I brought them up leading into that game, none of them were going to matter, because I was told big game Kirby's going to turn the light switch, and none of those problems Georgia had during the year were going to be in play anymore, because it's magically the playoffs. So none of those concerns would exist. All of those things I was told, and they were all wrong. They were all wrong. So I understand Georgia and Kirby's got a couple titles and all that. But this certainly isn't the year for anybody from Georgia to troll Notre Dame. You had a way more talented roster and couldn't get it done. But it's just the flip-flopping is unbelievable. The flip-flopping is unbelievable. Oh, Deion Colsey entered the portal. Oh my God, I'll never be able to wake up again. I can't handle it. How could he leave? All of that production leaving the building. How am I ever going to recover? So anyways, whatever. But Lou does a good job. The show's growing. Big SEC audience. Lou's creative, and he works his ass off. Man, that's the other thing. I don't think people realize if you do this full time how much work there is. Lou works his ass off, man. All that content. It's a lot of work. Nonstop work, no off season. And if you don't do the work, it's not getting done, man. It's a tough grind. It's a good grind. Wellington, $20 hour. If our QB2 is ready to step up, let's go now. Portal, I don't know what the planet quarterback is, you guys. I have no idea. Is it going to be Carr? Is it going to be Angeli? Telling you what. Angeli throws some really comfortable footballs, really good passes. He has really bad pocket presence feel. He is in mop-up duty only, and even in that small amount of time, he gets nailed from behind and with no feel of the pressure at all. He's in the game he's rarely in the game, but every time he's in the game, there's one of those hits. He has no feel that it's coming. It's really scary, man. It's really scary. So I don't know what's going on with that. The DL additions are highly rated. DBs and linebacker studs are O-line studs. Pass pro against OSU was good for the most part. Love Price Williams studs. Yeah, there's some really good parts to this. Some really good parts, but some improvements that need to be made too. There certainly is. 347, what's going on?
I'm devastated. I'm devastated. I didn't want to see this coming. You know, maybe it was immediately apparent. Everybody called it. But I do want to appreciate the season we had. You know, that game 31-7 felt like 2012. But quite the opposite happened, where we had a legitimate shot there to tie that game. And you know, it's not all doom and gloom. I read somewhere we've got 18 returning starters next year. I was looking over our schedule. It doesn't look all that daunting. Miami and Texas A&M to start the year, an opportunity to set the tone right then and there. And I've been listening to you since 2016, John. This team has made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
And
let me ask you this. Let me
Sure.
ask you this. Here's something I'm struggling with a little bit. And I think the whole fan base is, and the emotions are still running high. But how do you fall on the frustration of not getting over the ultimate hump and winning the championship? And that's the ultimate goal every year for Notre Dame. There's no conference to win or whatever. That's the ultimate goal. How do you process falling short on that while acknowledging and being proud of some of the layers and levels of progress that have been reached and made? Like, how do you make peace with the frustration that you didn't get over the ultimate up, but being proud of the strides that were made in the program and doing some things that haven't been done in 30 years, but not having that come off like you're making excuses or it's okay that you lost the championship? Like, I am struggling to thread that needle, because when I say we still made some progress, then it's like, oh, you're a loser. You're saying it was okay to lose the title. I'm like, no, it's not okay to lose the title, but that also doesn't mean that no progress was made in the program this year. And I'm having a frustrating battle with that in my own mind and with some of these people.
I process it like this. Going into the season, listening to your podcast, of course, and, you know, the standard, right? The goal for this year was to host a playoff game. Well, we achieved that. We won a playoff game. We achieved that. And ultimately, there's a talent gap, right? Like, they have, 14 5-stars. We have one. We know how to bridge the gap, and we need to get at least 2 to 3 of those types of players on each side of the ball to truly compete. Again, the game was competitive. And there's really 2 or 3 teams that stand out talent-wise on top of college football. And that's Ohio State, Georgia, and maybe now it's Texas. And we beat Georgia. So we're getting there. And in looking at the schedule next year, I can't see why we should not be favored in every single one of those games. Additionally, with 18 returning starters, if in fact that's accurate, we've got a lot of good coming back.
Yeah.
And my last point, Brian Kelly's best recruiting class came after that title game in 2012, where he actually hauled in a top 5 class. If Brian Kelly's capable of doing that, I want to see what Freeman's capable of doing. So I have a lot of optimism on my end. Listen, it sucks. You know, we were close. The better team won. Tom, who called a couple callers ago, was right. You know, in a year or two, we're going to see Ohio State again. We're going to see Georgia again. Texas is going to be around. But you know what? Maybe we can be a real player in this. And you have to focus on the positive, right? Like, we checked the boxes this year. We came close. We know what it's going to take. And I think that Freeman is going to bridge the gap and do what needs to get done. And it's going to require 2 to 3 of those players on each side of the ball.
Yeah, it's man, it's just been an interesting journey, and it's going to take some time to decompress from all this. But man, progress was made. I understand it's frustrating you didn't get over the hump. Hey man, thanks for giving me a call. I really appreciate it.
No regression, John. We gotta, you know, the standard's the standard now. Like, you know, we made it to the title game this year. Like, that's my level of expectation going forward now. Like, we need to be a real player in this. And as it was this year, making the playoffs, hosting a game, we achieved that. Next year, we gotta go deep into the playoffs. We gotta be a real player here. no regression. I'll be talking to you again in the off season.
Man, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, man. I do genuinely appreciate it. I really do. Couple more chats here. All I can say is the future of ND is very bright. ND going to be good for a long time. Go Irish. Thank you for the $20 T. Rodimus Prime. Really appreciate it. $5 holler from the Lemonade. It's the first 12-spot tourney. People have never seen a playoff team win 3 games and lose. Think that's why people have a hard time wrapping their minds around it. Yeah, it's the proximity to that trophy is killing me, man. Seriously, the proximity to that trophy is what's getting me. Sorry about this, 614, Caden. I don't know. Caden, the man, doesn't show up on the caller ID, man. I need more information than that. You're not the only one on hold. There's 25 people waiting to call. All right, guys, I'm getting off of this. I need to look into getting to Florida or something. I need not a break from this, but maybe a change of scenery. I am it's just a struggle. And again, I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know if you're being sarcastic, a problem with your phone or whatever, bro. The phone lines are full. It's just I try to do the best I can to get through calls. I'm really I need to go get some fresh cold air, do something. Thank you guys for all the energy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring. Thanks for donating. Thanks for chatting. And here's the good news. Anybody who didn't get their call answered and they're mad about it, well, you got 6 more months till the season to call and talk your heart out. I'll have a video for you in the morning, and then we'll be back live Friday for people to do whatever you're going to do. Love you guys, most of you.